Hello and welcome. I'm Rik Glauert and here's what happened this week. The week began with large-scale Chinese military drills around Taiwan. As Bing Wang reports, the exercises came after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen met with US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
In this video from Taiwan's Coast Guard, a tense exchange between them and a Chinese military vessel. This comes amid a 3-day military exercise announced by China that began on Saturday. Beijing has dubbed the drill the Joint Sword. It involves air, land, and sea forces encircling Taiwan. China is flexing his military muscle after Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen and U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy held high-level talks in California last week. Beijing warned there would be consequences if Tsai were to meet McCarthy. Beijing sees the meeting as Taiwan asserting its independence. China considers Taiwan as part of its own territory, even though the Communist Party has never ruled over Taiwan.
I think for China, it's a propaganda piece for their internal population to say, look, we are countering encroachment by secessionist forces on Taiwan, partnering with outside actors, in this case, the United States.
Taiwan's Defense Ministry says they are increasing their combat readiness in case of escalation.
PLA's recent harassment with their assets has destabilized the region. This time, President Tsai's visit became their excuse to conduct exercises, and their actions have severely jeopardized the security of the surrounding region.
It's the second time in 8 months that Chinese forces are conducting large-scale exercises. In August last year, Nancy Pelosi, then Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, visited Taiwan, prompting China to launch live-fire exercises around Taiwan.
中国围台军演 那么只会让全世界看到，他是和平的破坏者，维护台海的和平跟稳定，确保台湾的安全，这是全世界民主国家的共同利益。
But despite the military posturing, on the streets of Taipei, life goes on.
当然，现在也不完全觉得这次的演习就会对我们有安全上的疑虑，或者是，可是其实他们做的每一个动作都是在 push 这个界限，
照样子去做，不用害怕。对啊，因为我们有台积电，对，然后还有美国的保护，对啊。
Taiwanese tech firm TSMC is the world's largest producer of semiconductors, and global reliance on the country's chip industry is seen to protect it from overt Chinese aggression. But it hasn't dissuaded China from continued acts of intimidation.
It may not feel tangible right now, but tensions between Taipei and Beijing are at its highest. And without some political breakthrough, officials fear there could be a change to the status quo. Andy Xue and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan this week also launched its first civil defense drill of the year in the central city of Taichung. It came as China continued to issue warnings and restrictions in areas near Taiwan. Jaime Ocon reports.
Taiwan is rehearsing its wartime preparations. For the next 6 weeks, the annual civil defense drills will help cities and counties across Taiwan assess how to respond to emergencies. They begin in the central city of Taichung.
今年的民安演习有一个特别不一样的地方是，我们把战争当作演习的项目。
This year's drills come at a time of heightened cross-strait tensions. On Monday, China wrapped up 3 days of military exercises around Taiwan. Those were in response to a meeting between Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen and U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California. China views Taiwan as part of its territory, to be taken by force if necessary, and it gets angry over any perceived recognition of Taiwanese sovereignty. Now Beijing has declared a no-fly zone just 85 nautical miles away from northern Taiwan starting on Sunday. Beijing says it will conduct unspecified aerospace activities in the area. The no-fly zone was originally supposed to last 3 days, but Taiwan says its transport ministry protested the move and managed to change the duration to just 27 minutes. The no-fly zone falling soon after large-scale military drills is seen as a calculated move by Beijing.
我认为说就是让台湾可以知道可以怎么样在面对两岸事情上面 很多时候可以用制止，不一定要用这个硬道理去跟对方去argue。我觉得在这里面是可以看得到的。
Even if it's just half an hour, the no-fly zone will affect 33 flights on one of the world's busiest aviation corridors. And on Thursday, China announced a ban on ships entering the area of the no-fly zone for 6 hours. In Taiwan's largest international airport, some travelers feel uneasy about China's actions.
Actually, right now, it's all about the war between China and Taiwan. Actually, we're kind of nervous, but at the same time, a little just so-so. Maybe because we believe that Taiwan can fight back, or like something like China can have sympathy to us because we have a big population here in Taiwan.
The recent drills and upcoming no-fly zone are more examples of Chinese military intimidation towards Taipei. But Taiwan is far from defenseless. The civil defense exercises are just one way the nation is preparing for whatever lies ahead. Andy Xue and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Foreign Ministry says China is trying to snatch diplomatic ally Paraguay ahead of an election there. I reported on how it's just the latest pressure point as Beijing continues its diplomatic squeeze on Taiwan. Taiwan's Vice Foreign Minister under fire in Parliament as the country struggles to retain its remaining official diplomatic allies. Later this month, Paraguay will elect a new president. The frontrunner has said that if he wins, he will cut ties with Taipei in favour of Beijing.
中国大陆也很明显的了哈，也在拉拢各方的候选人，所以我才所以这是一个事实。
China views Taiwan as part of its sovereign territory, and any official recognition of the country comes with repercussions from China. Since 2017, 8 of Taiwan's 21 long-time diplomatic allies have severed ties with Taipei for official relations with Beijing. Last month, Honduras became the latest place to flip. The break coming after Taiwan reportedly refused a request for $2.5 billion in aid.
我们不会和中国进行无意义的金钱外交竞逐。过去几年，中国不断利用各种方式打压台湾的国际参与，升高对我们的军事侵扰，冲击区域的和平稳定。
To counter that, Taiwan has been building closer ties with other democratic countries as the list of its official allies dwindles. In recent months, it has welcomed an unprecedented number of visits from political leaders of North America and Europe.
So I think we are seeing an adjustment towards more value and investment in non-diplomatic allies and partnerships. So in a way, a quality versus quantity, perhaps.
Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has now met with 2 US House speakers, both of which reaffirmed their country's support for Taiwan. Each time, China has responded with major military drills. But China has also shown it can go on the charm offensive. Just before it launched those drills, Chinese President Xi Jinping rolled out the red carpet for his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, who has been accused of pandering to Beijing, with comments that Europe should not just follow the United States' lead on supporting Taiwan. Taiwan has had to be flexible to make any kind of headway onto the global stage, but China's persistent response has shown that it intends to prevent that from happening. In local politics, Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party nominated Vice President Ly Ching-te for the 2024 presidential election. Ly hopes to take over from incumbent Tsai Ing-wen, who has hit her 2-term limit. Stash Butler reports.
At Taiwan's ruling party headquarters in Taipei, Taiwan's Vice President moves a step closer to the presidency.
今天我非常荣幸能够获得民进党的提名，参选2024总统大选。
Ly Ching-te will be the Democratic Progressive Party's nominee for January's presidential race after running unopposed. In his speech after the party meeting, he set out his vision for Taiwan.
民主团结、民主治理、民主和平3大民主行动，推动国家的希望工程，达到民主、繁荣、和平的目标。
Ly is hoping to replace President Tsai Ing-wen, who's reached her 2-term limit. The incumbent leader has made global headlines recently by meeting US House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. China reacted by surrounding Taiwan with warplanes and an aircraft carrier. If he wins the presidency, Ally will have to manage ties with a Beijing that views Taiwan as a breakaway province and him and his party as separatists. In an interview with the BBC, President Tsai set out her position that Taiwan is a sovereign state.
We don't have a need to declare ourselves an independent state. We are an independent country already, and we call ourselves Republic of China, Taiwan, and we have our own system of running the country.
And Ally is in many ways a continuity candidate. He uses the same language as Tsai about Taiwan.
事实上，已经是一个主权独立的国家，不必另行宣布独立。
But he won't be the only candidate in the race. The billionaire founder of Foxconn, Terry Guo, wants to run for the opposition Kuomintang, or KMT. Foxconn makes billions of dollars assembling iPhones in China, and Guo says his international experience makes him the ideal candidate.
我身为一个怀有全球视野、拥有多方关系的国际企业人，我应该挺身而出，解决传统政治人物不能解决的危机。
He's facing competition from the mayor of Taiwan's most populated city, New Taipei, but Mayor Hou You-yi has not yet committed to running. Polls suggest Hou would lose to Ally by a margin of about 12 points, with a third candidate picking up about a fifth of the votes. If the KMT picks Guo instead, the figures suggest he'd lose by more than 20 points, a landslide.
But the presidential vote is far from a done deal. The DPP's nomination gives Ally a head start in campaigning for next year's race. But with tensions across the Taiwan Strait, exports suffering from market uncertainty and food prices rising through the roof, Taiwan's second-in-command faces an uncertain path to the presidency. Alex Chen and Stash Butler in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
With the DPP's candidate now chosen, people are wondering who the KMT will pick. But Taiwan's main opposition party is keeping mum. John Van Triest has this story.
While Vice President Lai Ching-te has just been picked as the DPP's candidate for 2024, it's still unclear who will run against him. So far, the chair of the opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, has only said his party will make an announcement when the time is right. But Taiwan's media suggests a consensus could be forming. Reports say an anonymous party insider gives New Taipei Mayor Hou You-yi an 80% chance at clinching the KMT nomination. The source says the remaining 20% goes to Terry Guo, the multi-billionaire founder of electronics giant Foxconn. As speculation grows, Hou says he's confident about his ability to govern.
随时让自己的准备能够随时面对所有的挑战，都能够克服。
Meanwhile, Guo set off on a 4-day trip to Japan on Wednesday, his second overseas trip this month. He's told reporters he won't make any statement until he's back in Taiwan. A formal announcement from the party could still be months away, and it's unclear if Guo would run as an independent if passed over. Though if he did, it'd be a move which would fill next January's election with even more uncertainty. Damon Lin and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out these shots of coral spawning in waters of southern Taiwan's Kending. Entire colonies of coral release their tiny eggs into the ocean at the same time. I'm Rik Glauert, take care and we'll see you next week.
Taiwan, a country I'm proud to say I'm from. As a media entrepreneur, I've spoken to movers and shakers here. But what I'm most excited about are the up-and-coming forces of my generation. They're young, they're creative, and dare to defy the status quo. Follow me as I meet emerging leaders of Taiwan who lift us, who inspire us.
Game Changers with Emily Waiu. Saturday to Sunday, 9:30 p.m. on TaiwanPlus.